everyone, welcome back to the Hardware News Recap for the week. In this one, we'll be talking about the NVIDIA rumors actually getting into Geekbench listings now for their upcoming ARM-based CPU. Called the N1x currently. Further, we'll be talking about the Matrox dual arc GPU, or Matrox if you prefer, but two A380s in one video card. I'm looking forward to bringing back dual GPUs so we can have quad GPUs in 2 slots and terrible gaming experiences. But it was a cool time, and this is used for something else. Additionally, there's the Microsoft and ASUS collaboration on the ROG Ally. There are RTX 5050 GPU rumors, and the FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration, is upgrading its hardware. It's moving away from floppy disks. Yes, actually, this is sort of not funny in a way. And it's also upgrading from Windows 95. I just hope they won't go to ME. Let's get into the news. Before that, this video is brought to you by Thermal Grizzly and their new Duronaut thermal paste. Thermal Grizzly claims its Duronaut paste is intended for long-term stability and endurance, focusing on paste longevity in addition to the usual performance focus. Thermal Grizzly's Duronaut paste comes with applicators and spreaders, and ships in numerous tube sizes, aiming to provide a high-end paste for PC builds and daily driven overclocks by enthusiasts. Learn more at the link in the description below. First up, a quick GN update. So we have a major trip coming up to Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and hop over to Taipei as well. Sometime in the next month or so. And we're going to be doing this for a few cool content pieces. The first is a major deep dive investigation. I can't talk about what the topic is because we don't want them to know. And I'll leave that there. What I can say is that it should be a full-length documentary, and it'll be similar in editing style and approach and probably length at runtime to the tariffs video we did, but totally different topic. It's not about that. It's about something else in the tech industry. Second reason we're going to be over there is a bunch of educational factory tours that we're working on. So we've done a lot of these over the years. We have a whole playlist. It's honestly my favorite series that we do. Not a massive views driver, but it's just, we learned so much, and it's really cool to see how the stuff is made. And so we're doing some of those. And that should all be happening sometime in the next month. The videos will go up after that. Now, here is the question for you all. So I have exactly one open day on the calendar during that time where we can fit one more factory in. And the choices I have currently are either a video card factory or a gaming handheld device factory. So those are the two options. Let us know which you'd prefer. I'll read the comments, and then we'll try to make it happen. Editing style for that would be similar to our Thermal Grizzly thermal paste factory tour. As for the other updates, we recently did a production run of our GN tabletop dice, and we bought some extra inductors from the e-waste inductor dice kit suppliers. And we also bought some extra Snowflake the Cat miniatures, which a lot of you have been asking for. So this promo will be to help us fund the upcoming investigative piece in Asia and all the educational content from it. Until we run out, which should be a while, we're going to be including a small bag of Snowflake miniatures with each autographed Snowflake the Cat tabletop gaming dice kit on the store. That's on store.gamersnexus.net. And for the autographed e-waste inductor dice kits, we're including a similar small pack of loose inductors that'd be great as +1/+1 counters, as poison counters, D&D map objects on a physical map like caltrops or trap indicators, artificer bombs, whatever, or similar in tabletop games. A lot of people have asked about getting some of the Snowflake Cats separately, so this will make that possible for buyers of the autographed kits, and we decided to do the same thing for the inductor ones. Now, the reason it's the autographed ones specifically is because there is a sort of a limited count of them. And so as long as on the page it still says that we have it, then we still have it. And frankly speaking, the trip coming up is incredibly expensive. We don't allow companies to pay for our flights, our travel, hotels, accommodations. We pay for all of that. The way we do that is from you all. And so because of that, I'm doing the extra Snowflake the Cat miniatures and the extra inductors as the autographed items only, because it is a fundraising thing. Like, just straight up, that is what it is. It's me telling you transparently, openly what it is, because we're funding this huge trip. So anyway, that's up on the store if you want to help us out. And that independence in paying for our travel instead of having the companies do it is critical for these types of deep dives overseas. If you're not already familiar with them, our tabletop gaming dice includes 7 high-quality sharp-edge gaming dice with a D4, D6, D8, D10, D%, D12, and D20. The kits include a custom wooden box with latches and an integrated roll tray in the lid, which is topped with an alchemy-themed logo. The Snowflake dice kits include a foil snowflake card in the style of MTG, referencing Heedless One for MTG players out there, with art on it actually drawn by my mom, with the Inductor dice including a foil goblin creature token card made in 3D by Andrew on the team. Finally, we also just stocked the front design of the Disappointment shirts from earlier this year with a new back for anyone who liked this design and missed out on it, or who maybe just didn't want the full tour date back. This variant has the overgrown FE Shroud hourglass in the front with oxidized sand pouring down through rusted CPUs and hardware, and a dithered screen print pattern on the bottom. The back has a GN logo with overgrowth and the same mix of oxidized and rusted parts. You can grab these on the store on store.gamersnexus.net to get a high quality shirt in cotton or tri-blend while supporting our next deep dive trips and educational factory tours directly. Again, the trips are expensive, but they are the coolest thing that we produce in terms of content, so we're really looking forward to it. I'm thrilled to get back out there, and we have some amazing sources and leads for this one. So you can head over to the store for that, and you'll see the content for this in the next couple months. Okay, up first, the NVIDIA CPU. So this has been in the rumors for a while now, but it's starting to appear to be more of a real thing. This has been rumored as a MediaTek collaboration in the past, and there are Geekbench test results now for a mysterious NVIDIA processor called the N1x in the listings, and this is supposed to be based on ARM architecture. It's not the first time NVIDIA has done an ARM CPU, so they have the Grace-Blackwell combination where Grace is the CPU for their enterprise and server deployments, and that is ARM-based as well. The rumors for this, though, are that it's targeted at perhaps more of a consumer audience. So, the processor was running on an HP 8E-A3 motherboard, coupled with Ubuntu. According to Geekbench, the processor offers 20 threads and carries a 2.81 GHz base frequency. The website also lists memory at 119.59 gigabytes. We can't know if this is accurate at this time for these numbers because these scraped listings often have errors, and even if they don't, if it's in development hardware, then it's not final. In terms of the benchmark results, the Geekbench test gave the N1x a 3096 single-core score and 18,837 points for multi-core scoring. Videocards.com checked the database and pointed out that this puts the single-core performance in between the 285K and 285HX from Intel, and puts its multi-core performance between the 9800X3D and the 285K. As an important sort of sobering note here too, Geekbench is not a great benchmark generally, so like broadly it's not that representative of a lot of other tests, and so we need to see how it performs in actual use cases, production workloads and gaming scenarios alike, to see if it still compares the same way against those alternatives that the 285K and the 9800X3D. But either way, this is popping up in the rumors now, and if it's as was rumored previously, then NVIDIA has been working with MediaTek for over a year now on this processor. Up next, Matrox, if you prefer, has found its way back into the GPU news. Matrox is an old video card maker. It was founded in 1976 and is still around today. Recently, Matrox unveiled a dual Intel Arc A380 GPU, or rather, a video card with two A380s on it. It's called the Luma Pro A380 Octal, but before any dual GPU enthusiasts get too excited, know that it's designed for what they call high-performance video walls. With its two GPUs, the card supports up to 8 displays through its 8 mini DisplayPort jacks. A380s are a strange choice for a dual GPU beyond this use case, but we think the more important thing to point out here is that Intel is allowing these sorts of creative endeavors at all. NVIDIA outright blocks this kind of project from its partners, but we've now seen 2 instances of partners getting free choice to make whatever they want with Intel's GPUs. We saw a dual B60 GPU from Maxon at Computex as well, and we were able to tear that one down. According to Ha Hardware, quote, the card supports hardware synchronized frame locking, so you can be absolutely certain that each of the screens will refresh at the same time. And you can even link 2 of the cards, so as a note that'd be 4 GPUs, to force them to update all 16 outputs simultaneously, end quote. It's a specialized use case, but it's cool to see. Now we just need them to do it with a high-end card, so we can bring back the glory days of dual GPUs using 4 GPUs and 2 PCIe slots, and then not really being able to play anything properly because of the micro stuttering. But it was a cool thing from a hardware perspective, at least. Up next, the company with the most anti-user operating system has partnered with the company with the most anti-user customer support, and Microsoft and ASUS are introducing together the Xbox Ally. This comes at an interesting point in time because Microsoft is at least somewhat thinking about SteamOS's extremely good performance in gaming. We've been talking about this for years now since it first rolled out, but in our testing, our findings were that the frame time pacing with SteamOS is excellent, and in a lot of cases, it has been superior to what Windows-based handhelds are able to produce. And so as that rolls into Windows, that will also be a benefit of SteamOS or just Linux gaming in general, where Proton's involved at least, where the frame time pacing will be better in some situations than Windows has been. So this might be something that Microsoft could be thinking about. They could be worried about erosion of the Windows install base for PC. Likewise, Nintendo is launching, or just launched, the Switch 2, and the Xbox console, the current one, has suffered catastrophic sales figures. And so all these things together get Microsoft launching a new device. And Microsoft says this of its new Ally.
So in partnership with ASUS, we're going to be releasing 2 devices, the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X.
That's right, the Xbox Ally X. With one more X, they'd finally be able to compete with XFX and the XXX video card in the RX series with the XT at the end. Okay, they need a lot more X's to do that, but you get the idea. Now, of course, Microsoft, ASUS, and AMD can't get all the corporate executives into one room to form a self-congratulatory circle without talking about the most important thing to gamers.
That means for the players, it's easier to enjoy, easier to start, and having help, AI is a companion for players.
Think of all the use cases that would blend AI-based audio, AI-based gaming assisting functions, AI-based rendering capabilities.
We wanted to build a handheld that can play the latest AAA games. I'm super excited. We've done something really, really good together. The industry-leading AI engine in your handheld device. Inconceivable even 3 years ago.
We have integrated in the power of AI experiences in ways that haven't even been imagined.
Yes, the AI use cases haven't even been imagined. As in, can somebody please imagine some AI use cases in this handheld gaming device? We need the stonks to go up. After months of rumors that Microsoft had been working on a mobile Xbox console, the company revealed the ROG Xbox Ally, which it's making in collaboration with ASUS. Aesthetically, it largely keeps the look of ASUS's ROG Ally, but it has so-called, quote, Xbox-inspired controls, end quote, and more contoured grips coupled with what they call impulse triggers. Now, this is different from my impulse trigger, which is when I hear ASUS, I think of a tiny scratch in a device resulting in a rejected warranty and a threat that it'll come back to me disassembled. And I wouldn't keep bringing that up after our conversation with them if not for the almost literally daily emails from you all telling me that this is still happening. So, and we'll talk about that one day. But ASUS is the #1 RMA complaint that we get in our inboxes. Anyway, the device also has what they're calling micro-texturing.
Something that I think is really cool is we have a micro-texture, which is that little Easter egg that starts to hint to the partnership between ASUS and Xbox.
And that's not what an Easter egg is. It's just like the logo repeated in very readable letters across the entire device. But anyway, point taken. Microsoft is advertising the ROG Xbox Ally, something you can either play games on natively or, for people who hate ownership, stream from the cloud. For its OS, the handheld is running a stripped-down Windows 11 with an Xbox game menu interface. Microsoft says,
we're turning off the desktop and other processes to optimize for gaming. That lets you have all of this memory back that can go just towards your games.
I don't have to think about Windows.
And he does have a point. Nobody wants to think about Windows. Now, even the companies expressed surprise that Microsoft's bloated piece of shit operating system could be made to run on this handheld device.
So we did actually get a functional build of Windows running on this, and you could play a game.
Oh yeah, we powered it on. I think I played Quake on it.
According to the company, this allocates more memory for games because it's not being eaten by Windows. There will be 2 variants. The flagship model, the ROG Xbox Ally X, is black and comes with 24 gigabytes of RAM, a terabyte of storage, AMD's Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme SoC, and an 80 watt-hour battery. And the base ROG Xbox Ally, which was pictured in white for the announcement, will come with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, AMD's Ryzen Z2 chip, and a 60 watt-hour battery. In terms of its display, the handhelds will come with a 7-inch 120Hz 1080p panel, and as for the focus, Microsoft is driving home the portability.
That's your identity, that's your library, it's the community that you have, anywhere you are, not where the device is.
And to be clear, you do still need the device to use the device, but we get what they're trying to say. This is interesting timing for Microsoft, as we said earlier, because the company's been struggling with Xbox hardware sales, and reworking Windows for gaming is both sort of a strange omission, of how absolutely awful it is, and is also maybe somewhat promising, because there's a possibility that they do this. They say, you know what? We've gone too far with Windows. It is too bloated, and maybe we should also unfuck it on the desktop and not just for handheld. So my optimistic hope would be that this launch is, one, actually improved for the operating system and it is de-bloated, but two, they go, okay, yeah, this was well received and it does work a lot better. Maybe we should do that on Windows desktop too, and do a Windows for gaming or whatever if they have to. But point being, you know, we looked at SteamOS years and years ago, and it's maintained this truth throughout its existence. Proton and SteamOS together enable better frame time pacing. It is objectively a better experience when it works with the games and is compatible. And there are some instances where, on handhelds especially, the frame time pacing is just awful, where you have these massive frame time spikes, and we show that in some of our charts for handheld reviews. And so Microsoft has some serious improvements they can do at an OS level that AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA will not be able to fix on their own. And so hopefully this is a move where they do bring it to the desktop experience. SteamOS is probably not that big of a threat on Microsoft's radar. It's relatively small. It's eventually going to come to the desktop PC, but they've been extremely slow to roll it out in any real capacity. And it's possible that it is a blip on the radar as a potential threat. It's just not one right now for a company the size of Microsoft. But what's also interesting, again, is the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out at the same time as this being announced. So, speaking of gaming handhelds, Nintendo has officially confirmed rumors of its sales figures. Nintendo put out a press release confirming that it had sold over 3.5 million units globally within the first 4 days of the console's release. The Switch 2 follows the success of the original Switch, which is Nintendo's second best-selling console of all time, having sold over 152 million units, bested only by Nintendo's DS, which sold over 154 million units. So by numbers, it appears to have been a successful launch. But rolling into our next story, iFixit is criticizing the Switch 2 for its repairability and has given it a repairability score of 3 out of 10, which is a metric that they use for determining how easily a device can be maintained. iFixit highlighted how difficult the console's battery was to remove in particular, as it used a lot of glue and required a lot of isopropyl alcohol and pry tools to remove. The company also criticized how the USB-C ports and flash storage modules were soldered to the main board, which makes the most likely point of failure, the USB-C ports and the storage, difficult to replace. iFixit also found that the new Joy-Con controllers brought less joy this time around, as they were more difficult to disassemble with their gluttony of stickers and glue. As far as iFixit could tell in its teardown, Nintendo still hasn't resolved the original Joy-Con's infamous stick drift issue, with the repair company saying that the joysticks use, quote, the same drift-prone potentiometer tech as always, end quote. Up next, according to Nikkei Asia Review, some of the PC component companies like Gigabyte and MSI are racing the tariff pause clock. So some tariffs, not all of them, were paused for 90 days, and that will expire on July 9th. Couple updates here. First of all, it is not all of them, to be really clear. And we're going to have a separate tariffs follow-up video on the GNCA channel you should check out. But it's not all of them. And there was also the international court order that, or court ruling, I should say, that ruled the tariffs were not enacted legally. And then there was an appeals court that re-enabled the enactment of those tariffs the way they were being enacted. So it's all still up in the air. And that's kind of the current, quick recap of the situation. But prior to the pause, the tariffs on imports from China that companies in the U.S. bringing those products in would pay were as high as 145% to, depending on how you added up sort of some of the sub-tariffs, 165 to 170% when we spoke with experts in our tariffs video. So that's the quick recap. Now, MSI chairman Joseph Su elaborated on his company's strategy, saying, quote, take NVIDIA's newly launched graphics cards, for instance. However many we ship to the US, they are immediately sold out. So it's hard to build inventory there. We are racing against time. We do and ship whatever we can. Nobody knows what will happen to the tariffs after July 9th. That's the biggest uncertainty for the rest of the year, end quote. According to Tom's Hardware, Gigabyte is in the same boat, with the publication writing that Gigabyte is, quote, fulfilling rush orders aimed at beating tariff uncertainties, end quote. An MSI senior executive shared his concerns about the NVIDIA situation to Nikkei Asia, saying, quote, the tech industry's biggest worry is that tariff uncertainties will drag down the U.S. economy and market demand, as that would have a spillover effect on other economies too, end quote. And again, for further context, make sure to check out our 3-hour documentary on tariffs if you haven't seen it already. We spoke to a lot of people in the industry, and all kinds of company sizes to get their input and their feelings on the situation. And then we have an update part 2 coming out on GNCA. We recently reported on RTX 5050 rumors for desktop. Now there are more of them for laptops. So whether you like it or not, there's more 5050, which is like, again, a GT 1030 basically, except it's a 5030 now. Anyway, the debate over GDDR6 versus GDDR7 memory was in the last one where it wasn't clear. There were 2 conflicting rumors on which would be used in the 5050s. And now there are new leaks highlighting a mobile variant of the GPU for laptops. ASUS Vietnam lists an ROG Strix G16 as having an RTX 5050. German site Keeble.de also lists a Helix 13 laptop with a 5050, and also lists that the GPU has 8 GB of G6. To throw a wrench into the gears, Newegg lists a Lenovo Legion 5i laptop as having an RTX 5050 with 8 GB of memory, but says it uses GDDR7 as opposed to GDDR6. We're not sure if that's a typo, but at this point, it also wouldn't surprise us if NVIDIA puts out 2 versions of the GPU and just doesn't properly inform consumers of which variant they're getting. But it could also just be that we don't know which one it is yet. Either way, life is like a box of NVIDIA GPUs. You don't know what you're going to get, but you are going to pay a lot of money for it. Up next, Apple is reportedly signaling the end of its Intel Mac support for its older Intel Mac computers. 9to5Mac writes, quote, Apple just announced that macOS 26 Tahoe will be the last release of macOS that supports Intel. That means from next year, major new versions of Apple's desktop operating system will only run on Apple Silicon Macs. Users should not expect to be able to update to get new features from macOS 27 onwards, as no Intel Mac will be supported on macOS 27, end quote. Apple started moving away from Intel for its Mac computers in late 2020 with the advent of its M1 ARM-based chip. Intel's current stock price is currently around $20 as we're writing this. Might be different when it goes up, and it's roughly 1/3 of what its peak was in 2020. Up next, TSMC's fab construction timeline in flux. According to Tom's Hardware, TSMC is speeding up its fab timeline in the US by half a year. The publication wrote that TSMC is responding to pressure from the US government to, quote, onshore its manufacturing by accelerating the construction timelines for its upcoming US fabs by as much as 6 months, end quote from Tom's Hardware. This, however, doesn't mean that TSMC is slowing down fab production in Taiwan. Tom's Hardware pointed out that in Taiwan, for TSMC, quote, 4 of the current 9 under construction new fabrication plants, end quote, are still being built there. In the US, TSMC has several facilities under construction in Arizona, including Fab 21, which comprises 2 facilities, its N3 plant, along with its A16 and N2 production facilities. Intel is also building fabs there. We've toured some of the construction sites for those, and those are still being built today. Back in March, TSMC also revealed that it would be investing over $100 billion into US-based fabs. We've also covered some stories over the past several months over what nodes will be produced in which fabs, where TSMC, due to Taiwan law, intends to keep its most advanced, absolute newest nodes in Taiwan, and then bring some of the other stuff to the US for manufacturing. So that's kind of the plan for that right now. Generally, it takes a long time for these things to get built. Intel and TSMC are both building fabs right now, and I guess the hope from a consumer perspective, purely ignoring every single other aspect, purely from a consumer hardware perspective, the hope would be that there's some more capacity, which might help with supply, which might help with price. But cynically, that's never how it works out for the consumer. Like, there's always more money involved somewhere. But anyway, that would be kind of the hope, and I don't think we're going to get that, but that's what we'd like to see. The FAA is up next. So the FAA is jettisoning floppy disks. The acting Federal Aviation Administration head recently told Congress that the FAA plans to overhaul its technology systems, stating, quote, the whole idea is to replace the system. No more floppy disks or paper strips, end quote. That's right. The FAA, like many government facilities and even factories we've toured in the past for some of their machines that have been around forever, it's still using floppies. So this is who the Silverstone FLP02 was made for. This is it. Silverstone, this is your moment, all right? They're about to upgrade their systems. They're going to have all new computers. They might even build them. Unlikely, but they might. Or they might have someone contract to build them. This is when you get the FLP02 out there in millions of units. Because all you have to say is, look, it has support for at least some of the floppy disks, like the ones where the reader can fit in a 5 1/4 slot in an ATX tower. We can do that if you really need to still support it. and it feels comforting. It looks like the old ones. In addition to floppy disks and paper flight strips, according to NPR, air traffic control towers in the US still use Windows 95. The publication writes, quote, more than a third of the nation's air traffic control systems are unsustainable, according to an FAA assessment from 2023, and some are starting to fail, end quote. Revamping the system isn't going to be cheap or quick, though. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy estimates it'll cost, quote, tens of billions of dollars, end quote, and will take roughly 4 years to complete. Now, if you're hearing tens of billions of dollars and thinking, wow, that's a lot of money for computers, just know that it's possible that they are upgrading with Origin and Alienware PCs. So between the two of them, if you carry the one, that should buy about 6. It should get about 6 Origin and Alienware computers to jumpstart us. Now, they also are planning to move on from Windows 95. So from us to the FAA, we would like to welcome the FAA to the current century, as long as they're not upgrading to Windows 98. And if you're not going much past that, just go past ME and 2000. XP was a pretty good time. You probably want at least Service Pack 3, though. There were a lot of vulnerabilities and a lot of malware back then. Watch out for the pop-ups. You know what? There's a lot we need to catch up on, so we should probably schedule a session to go over what's changed. Up next, a Reddit user who goes by the name Murky Incident reportedly encountered an electrical compatibility issue between his 5080 Founders Edition video card and EVGA Z690 classified motherboard, which he fixed with tape. Fixed it with tape. That seems about right. The Reddit post reads this, quote, I finally managed to snag a 5080 FE. As expected, my Z690 classified wouldn't boot with it, just looping through 0A and 7F postcodes. The fix turns out to be simple. Just cover the 2 SM bus pins on the GPU's PCIe connector. The card is running great now with full PCIe 5.0 by 16 bandwidth, end quote. According to the Reddit user, he cut a 2mm wide strip of electrically insulating tape from Thermal Grizzly. He then placed that tape over the 2 SM bus pins on the card. You could use any electrically insulating tape for this, provided it's thin enough. Now, elaborating on how this resolved the compatibility issue, the user wrote, quote, the PCIe SM bus pins are completely optional and have no defined standard for usage. Most consumer motherboards don't even bother to wire them up. EVGA did, however, connect those pins on their Z690 boards, allowing the GPU to interfere with boot up. This is also a good regular reminder that if you don't think duct tape can fix it, you're not using enough duct tape. Up next, a rapid-fire recap of some stories. First up, a Chinese company called Super Display Company is releasing a monitor, they say, with a 720 hertz display. Why have 720p when you can have 720 hertz? The company says their OLED solution is a 4th-generation LG display. In terms of other advertised features, the company says it has a 0.03 millisecond response time, depending on how you test it, I guess, and 1500 nits of brightness. Super Display Company also says it supports HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 1.4. There's no release date information yet, but according to Hot Hardware, the monitor will cost, quote, around $1,000, end quote. Next in the rapid recap, Gigabyte is throwing shade at the motherboard market, but this time the shade is orange. The company is taking a break from the trend of monochrome and black motherboards with its new B850M Force Micro ATX motherboard, which splashes orange on it. Also part of the rapid fire, Razer is entering the DIY keyboard market with its new Black Widow V4 barebones 75% keyboard. It's geared for modders who want to use their own keycaps and switches. The keyboard does come with RGB lighting, however, and Razer says it offers 8,000 hertz so-called hyperpulling technology. The barebones keyboard comes either in black or white, starts at $140. And as usual with any high-end thing, you're paying more to have fewer things on it. Also in the recap, Ayaneo has revealed its revamped Nintendo DS-inspired gaming handheld, the Flip 1S DS. The original Flip DS used a Ryzen 7 8840U, but the new model upgrades the processor to a Ryzen AI 9 HX370, purportedly making improvements as well to its screen, refinement for controls, which includes TMR electromagnetic medium joysticks, and according to video cards, it moves to a stepless hinge design. For its main screen, the Flip 1 DS uses a 7-inch 144Hz OLED 1080p display, and its smaller screen uses a 4.5-inch IPS panel. Finally, an important update to Alienware and the Area 51 desktop. We just reviewed the system. I think it should be up, but if it's not, it'll be next. And Dell is already making improvements to it. This is the new Area 51 brick kit. The tiny Lego PC measures 2.2 by 5.3 by 5 inches and is composed of 318 Lego bricks. The set is made exclusively for Alienware Arena members, and the Area 51 kit sounds like it'll be the first of more to come, with the company writing on its blog that it is, quote, starting with our new Alienware Area 51 desktop as the test subject, with hopes to expand it if we see you all enjoy the product and redeeming at a high rate, end quote. True to the original Alienware systems, it's completely obstructed of airflow, making this a major regression from the improvements that we just praised in the Area 51. On the positive side, the SSD is straight this time, and the cables even have better management than the already good cable management in the Area 51, mostly because Alienware and Lego have figured out a way to get rid of the cables somehow. We're not sure how, but unfortunately the CPU probably doesn't even work. So that is it for this one. Thanks for watching. As always, subscribe for more. Go to store.gamersaccess.net, support us directly, and grab some of our stuff like our mod mats, our soldering mats for projects and soldering, shirts and other items, all of which help fund our deep dives, research content, and reviews. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.